What's good, everyone? It's Joey, and today we're going to be flipping a Jazzy sample into a trap beat in FL Studio. You can look for samples on either YouTube or Instagram. I used to save a lot of my Instagram reels that I really liked in a folder on my desktop, and then I would sample them from there. So I'm just going to drag in our sample for today, and it sounds like this. So first of all, you can see it's not on time. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that it's cropped correctly at the beginning, because you can see that, right? That's a little bit of empty space before it starts, and we're going to fix that first off. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the stretch tool, go to the end, and just make sure that it's perfectly lined up. You can go into mode on the sample. You can double click on the sample, and then in mode, turn off resample and select stretch. The first thing you should do when you're chopping up a sample is you should find the pitch and the tempo that you like. So we're making this into a trap beat, right? So I definitely think we need to speed it up. Maybe let's do 152. And I often find that when you speed up a sample, pitching it up also works very well. So we're going to pitch it up 200 cents. Now we can get to chopping. I personally like to chop all of my samples in the playlist. I know other tutorials will tell you, oh, use Fruity Slicer or use Serato Studio or another outside plugin, but personally, I like using the playlist because I think it keeps things very simple. It allows you to cut up any part of the sample and rearrange it any way you want in a way that's visually understandable. For a lot of these beats, especially since we have such a short sample here, repeating certain sections and then leading into the next section is a common technique that I like to use for these beats. So something like this. That technique right there, that could be the foundation for every time you ever sample, and you will consistently find ways to flip samples into hard beats. It always surprises me how well this technique actually works, because it's so easy. You just take a part of the sample, you shorten it, you loop it, and then you play a longer part of the sample, and then it just sounds like this. We can lower the volume on the sample for now, just because, as you can see, we're clearly filling up a lot of the volume bar already, and we don't necessarily want to do that. We want to leave some room for the drums. Now, for some people who like making really simple beats that are repetitive, catchy, can get an artist's attention, they might just stop there. But personally, I like to have multiple sample chops, so I'm going to make another one. Most of that sample was made, or that chop was made from the first half of the sample. So now I'm going to go back into our original sample, and I'm going to make a chop out of the second half. I mean, come on, man. It's really that easy.
Come on, man. That's too easy.
Just like that, we have two sample chops. And now, we can go in with the drums. I think someone like Glock would rap on this type of beat. So that makes me think some of that southern trap, maybe a big kick, a snare, a bass. So before we get into that, actually, let me just quickly mix this. I'm going to get some fruity parametric EQ2 on there, about 150 hertz. And then just before we put the drums on, we're going to delete that fruity limiter. I'm going to put one of the Nexi's master presets on again because I feel like every time I do it, it works. And now we can go in with the drums. Let's start out with a big kick. I ended up going with this clipped kick from Infinite's kit. I changed my mind. I said earlier I wasn't going to use an 808, but I actually think a subtle 808 like this one from Chambers' iconic drum kit, 808 Heartbeat, will fill up the low end nicely without kind of distracting from the vibe of the sample. Remember, this is how you prepare 808s to be added to a beat. You click on it, you turn off the loop points, then you go into the envelope, you turn up the hold, and you turn everything else down. Now the 808 will play as long as you want, or as short as you want. Did you notice what I just did there? Sometimes if the 808 and the kick aren't working together well, like this for example, you can clearly hear that doesn't sound good. So you can go into either the 808 or the kick and hit reverse polarity. And that will make the kick and the 808 work together better. I think I'm just going to switch the kick to something simpler and punchier. Just going to go to this A1 kick from the Chambers kit. Sticking with the iconic drum kit, just going to add a hi-hat. A tight, fast hi-hat one like this often works for these types of beats. Just going to start off with a simple two-step and then add some rolls at the end of each 4 bars. Mostly keeping it simple though. And adding some gaps here and there as well. Copy that over, and then just make one change at the end of the bar. Just copy this roll and pitch it down a little bit. I felt like the kick wasn't hitting hard enough, so I just went into the kick, went to this knob right here, and just boosted it by 2%. I also turned the 808 up to 90%. Metro Boomin makes a lot of these types of beats, so when I'm not sure what sound I should use, like for instance, I really wasn't sure what to go with for this snare, but when I thought about it in my head, what would Metro do? I came up with this, and it does fit. Now we just need to fill out the drums. First thing I'm going to add is this little zap perk. Just finding space for it in the drums and just filling in accordingly. Next up, we definitely need an open hat or a cymbal of some kind. We can just start with that on the 1. And then let's also find an open hat. I just decided to add this vinyl crackle for some vintage texture. It sounds really good with the melody. Just adds to that warm retro vibe that we're going for with the melody. And then I think to finish off the drums, just gonna add a snare roll at the end. I'm going to arrange it And then I'm just going to finish off that melody, and then we should have a full beat. Now that I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do for the arrangement, I'm going to find that final element that I'm going to add for the chorus. So I found this saxophone kit that I downloaded. I'm going to find a sample and chop it up just to go over the main sample for the chorus. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And without further ado, here's the full beat.